Good morning. I'm Jeff Turco with SPI. I'm Director of Operations for Spray Foam Rigs and Equipment.
Hey guys, Paul Lenzi here with SPI, Senior Regional Manager of the East Coast. And today we're up in North Woodstock, New Hampshire at one of our service center and local branches. And we're with our Max Pro 16 built by Intech. And today we're going to be doing some startup shutdown tutorials as well as a bunch of helpful hints for you guys. Hey guys, Paul here. I'm in the back of our Max Pro 16 series trailer. And today we're going to run through some tips on common failures that we see coming through our service center to help you guys out. Anytime you are using your equipment or out on a job site, please make sure that you and your sprayers are properly wearing all of the recommended PPE. Let's start off our first tip here with going over hose maintenance to make sure that we're not running into any costly failures. Now, it's a hot, humid day up here in Woodstock, New Hampshire, and that means there's going to be moisture in the air. But while these hoses look solid and are built solid, they won't let ISO and resin out, but those small water vapors can get into your hose. And when that happens, the crystallization process will happen on your ISO side. At first, you may just notice little chunks coming out with your foam, or you may not even notice them. But over time, as those vapors get into your hose lines, you could eventually clog up the entire hose to where you're not spraying any foam. So how are we going to avoid that? The worst thing we can do is do nothing, because then it's going to cost you thousands of dollars to be replacing some hoses, or come to one of our service centers and get a ton of work done to make sure they get back up and running. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a manufacturer-approved product like this ISO flush. We're going to circuit through our hoses through one of our transfer pumps and a bucket. We're going to allow that to circulate for 3 or 4 hours to completely flush out the hoses. Once that's complete, we're going to put another solvent in there to help maintain our hoses while our rig is sitting idle. Before you start spraying again, make sure you're recirculating your hoses for about an hour before you get going. So if we know our rig is going to be sitting for an extended period of time and we're not going to flush out the hoses completely, another form of preventative maintenance is going to be to recirculate the ISO through our lines. So how we're going to do that, with our disconnected gun, we're going to remove our recirc line. We're just going to put the manifold over the hole in our drum, turn our pumps on, and we're going to continuously recirc the ISO through this line to flush it all out. We're going to want to let this recirculate for about 30 minutes or so. Now, another alternative that people use instead of either recircing or flushing out their lines completely would be about every week or so just to come in and spray out 100 to 300 board feet of product. And while that will work, the problem with that is you're now spraying out product that you could be using to make you money.
And what we're here to talk about today is labeling of the pump. So you see on here that you've got the B side and also the A side. It's labeled with a red A, a blue B, which is pretty common in the industry. Another good practice, especially that we do with SPI Intech rigs, is tape off the supply line. So you see the red tape here, but also the blue tape on this side to really showcase and help identify to prevent any of the mixing and the costly errors in putting the A in the B or the B in the A side. So why is this important? Because it can be pretty costly. If you had to replace your supply line or even a section of hose, a couple $100 for a supply line, or a just standard 50-foot section of hose could be $3,000 to almost $10,000 for the entire length, depending on what you have. Every proportioner comes with a bottle of TSL fluid. Why is that important? Because it keeps the seals in your pumps lubricated. It also prevents any kind of buildup if the ISO gets behind it. It's important to ensure that the bottle is always filled before each job, but it's also important to make sure that your unit is parked when you're done for the day because it submerges those seals in the ISO. So what do you look for and how do you know when to change out your TSL fluid? When you start to see the bottle get milky in here, you know that it's time. Or if it's getting low, then you would want to go through, just replace it. It sits conveniently on the side of your proportioning unit. So if you don't change out your TSL fluid or the bottle goes dry, what will happen is the seals on here will end up getting ISO buildup on them. That'll harden up and it'll ruin the pumps in your proportioning unit. One of the common things that you'll see if you're on the job spraying, you'll get a discoloration happening. That's an indication, especially if it's a light color, that your A side Y strainer has a restriction in it. One of the common things that you'll find is that the Y strainer will be plugged up. So what you want to do is depressurize your system, shut off the supply line. Here I'm on the B side of the proportioning pump just to showcase where the Y strainer is and how to take it apart. So we've got it off, the system's depressurized. What you want to do is remove this nut right here. So once you back that out, you'll notice that the Y strainer comes out. You want to put this in a recommended solvent, blow it off to get it clean. And then when reassembling it, especially on the A side, make sure that you put a little grease on the threads when you go to screw that in, just to make it easier to take it apart again.
I understand on a job site, this thing can be heavy and it's getting in the way, and guys don't always tend to do it the right way. But we just want to try and build that good habit so that you can protect your investment on your rig. When we're moving this along a job site, we want to make sure we're not dragging this, we're not getting caught on any obstructions. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're putting it back on its rack properly, try and sit it on the floor to help with some of the weight disbursement. If you're noticing that your hose is starting to wear or tear, we're going to want to immediately address that. We could do that by just taping up the spot that is being worn out, or if we need to, we can also replace the scuff guard.